What's up, everybody? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. This one's going to be a combination collection video / concert review. I saw this band about a month and a half ago, and I was starting a new job, and with everything going on, I just didn't have time to sit down and make a video going over the concert. However, I wanted to talk about it and show some videos because this was a band that I already really liked, but seeing them live just kind of took it to another level, because their live show was even better than their albums are, which says a lot because I love their albums. But I was kind of late to this band, really late, to be perfectly honest, and I don't know how these guys flew under my radar for as long as they did, especially because they're on the High Roller label, which I'm a big fan of. And like I said, somehow I completely missed them. I happened upon them on the 20 Buck Spin website, which is one of my favorite sites to order records from. And honestly, what caught me was the album covers. If I saw these album covers in stores, I probably would have passed right by them just because they don't look like hard rock or heavy metal album covers at all. But it was about 6 months before or maybe 3 months before the release of their newest album, Motivator. What had happened was 20 Buck Spin was offering pre-orders of their newest album, and then also offering some represses of their debut full length from 2011. And I clicked on a link for their debut from 2011, and they had one song on there, and I was utterly blown away by how great this song was, and I ordered it immediately, and I pre-ordered Motivator. The band we're talking about, if you haven't figured it out yet, is High Spirits. High Spirits are everything that I love about 70s hard rock and early 80s hard rock and heavy metal, especially new wave of British heavy metal. You've got elements of Riot, you've got elements of the Scorpions, you've got elements of Motorhead, elements of Iron Maiden, and it's all packaged together in a very unique sound, especially for today. There aren't any real bands that I can think of that are making music the way that High Spirits is. Now, before I keep saying them and referring to the band, High Spirits is basically one person. It's Chris Black. Chris Black was originally he's been in literally probably a dozen bands. The biggest band and what he's most known for is Dawn Bringer, which is also a one-man project. Dawn Bringer is a very, I guess you could call it like a mix of doom and post-metal, and people say black metal as well. From what I've heard of Doombringer, I don't really hear any black metal in there, but it's very dark, and a lot of the songs are about depression and inner fears and darkness, you know. And this is, I read this somewhere, and it describes it perfectly. If Dawn Bringer was the yin, then High Spirits would be the yang. High Spirits is literally the opposite. It's about hope and positivity, and it's literally the opposite of that. And you hear it in the music as well. High Spirits have slowly become one of my favorite bands, and I would put them at the top with the top 2 or 3 new wave of traditional heavy metal bands. They're just doing it that good, and the music is just so amazing. But back to so the album that got me into them was Another Night from 2011. So here you go, and as you can see, this doesn't look like heavy metal. And this is something else that Chris is really cool about. He uses this really cool graphic style of art, and you'll see it in all of the pictures. None of these give off the vibe of metal, and I love this vinyl here. Check this out. Just a beautiful. The logos, I love the way Another Night is, and that 80s style script. The High Spirits logo is almost that 70s style. that old English look that was real popular with bands in the 70s and 80s. Still to this day, a lot of bands use that old English style. But and then you've got the inner here with the lyrics. But you'll notice there's no pictures. No pictures of the band, no pictures of Chris. And I think he does that on purpose. It's really about the music. And something that I found really cool about the band, actually before I get to that, and then this is 2016's Motivator. This was my favorite album. This was #1 for 2016 for me. And just think about all the great music that came out last year, and this was on top. And everything about this takes it back to the 80s. This isn't an hour and 20 minutes of music with half of it just useless music. This is just over 30 minutes. All of his albums are I believe all of them are under 45 minutes, which definitely harkens back to the days of vinyl. You don't get bored with this at all. It's an enjoyable listen all the way through. Look at that beautiful artwork, though. Again, if you saw this, you would never guess that this is a heavy metal band or a hard rock heavy metal band. Look at that. And again, they changed their logo up. I love this kind of futuristic, almost like 1920s. What's the movie I'm thinking of? Then you got the vinyl. This one's just plain black. Center logos. So again, with High Spirits and with Chris Black, it's all about the music. It's not about, again, you saw no pictures of Chris Black or the band that he tours with. There's not a lot of ego coming from him. Even in the show when I saw him, it wasn't Chris Black up front. The other members had their turns to get in front. Actually, the bass player was bouncing around and was almost in front of the stage more than Chris was, which for a one-man project is not something you exist. A lot of times you expect him to be real dominant, and he really wasn't. He was part of the band. He's an amazing multi-instrumentalist. He actually came to fame kind of in his the first big band he was in was Pharaoh, which is a power metal band, and he played drums, so he was kind of known as a drummer. But when you listen to the guitar riffs on this album, the guitar riffs are phenomenal. The solos are phenomenal. I don't know how he wasn't a lead guitarist to begin with. I mean, he's that good. What really stood out to me right up front was the band came out, and one of the things that kind of bugs me about a lot of the new wave of traditional metal bands is that they feel like they have to look and dress and act like the bands from the early 80s. Now, I love that style in the early 80s. I wore the tight jeans. I had the jean jacket covered in patches. And I still like the battle jackets. Don't get me wrong. I still love being at shows and seeing battle vests, battle jackets, whatever you call them. But these new wave of traditional metal bands feel like they have to wear, the high top airs, the tight jeans, the bandanas hanging from their pockets, the chain on their wallet, the crazy hair. They feel like they have to be those bands from the 80s. And that's something that's always kind of annoyed me about them. Listen, I love Enforcer. I don't think that they need to dress the way they dress. I love all these thrash metal bands, but it's 2017. We don't dress that way anymore. Metalheads don't dress that way anymore. We just don't, I would much rather see you come out with some Doc Martens, some blue jeans, and a concert t-shirt on, or some Vans, some blue jeans, and that's it. You don't need to pretend that you're somebody that you're not. Now, I know that there's bands out there who consider themselves more a nostalgia act. And if they want to do that, that's cool. I'm really not a fan of most of those bands. The Steel Panthers of the world, they just don't do it for me. For them, it's a gimmick, it's a joke. I almost feel like they're making fun of the style of music that I've loved for my entire life. I know a lot of you don't feel that way, but I do. Even bands like Savage Master, if you know me, I'm a huge fan of Savage Master, and they do it over the top. with High Standard, they don't feel they have to do that. You know, the band comes out with black t-shirts, white jeans, they all match, and they just play amazing music. Again, it's about the music. It's not about the image. It's not about trying to be the darkest, most satanic, most cultish band in the world, which I think a lot of these bands are they're tripping over themselves, trying to be the darkest, the meanest, the most aggressive. Who gives a shit? They write killer music, and what I really love about High Standards is they have killer hooks that you can sing along to, which I think a lot of heavy metal bands have forgotten about, especially the new wave of British metal bands, or new wave of traditional heavy metal bands. That's one thing. If you go back and listen to the hard rock and metal from the 70s and early 80s, they had really good hooks. They had really good sing-along choruses. And the cool thing about the way Chris performs live, you know, even if you've never heard those songs, you can sing along to the choruses. They're very clear. And you can tell, again, it's about the music. It's about the fans. There weren't a lot of people there, you know, maybe 100 people shoved into the club. But he played like he was playing in an arena. It was an amazing show. Now, I will say the opening band was a band called Bible of the Devil. I thought they were terrible. They were wearing their costume. They were another band doing the Thin Lizzy style of 70s hard rock and not doing it very good. They felt like they had to wear a costume, dressed like an 80s hard rock heavy metal band, and it wasn't that High Standard came on and they were so much better that I didn't end up having a good memory of Bible of the Devil. As soon as I walked in and halfway through the first song, I was like, this sucks. And I went and got a drink from the bar, and I just kind of sat in the back. I might have gotten a video of it. If I do, I'll put it in. I'll put it in right here. But again, they just didn't do anything for me. High Standard, again, phenomenal from beginning to end. Chris even stepped away from the stage a couple of times, stepped off to the side of the stage, let the band members do their solos. He was in the background. Again, it didn't feel like it was Chris's band. It felt like it was a nice, cohesive band, which I find real interesting, again, considering he writes everything and records everything himself. I basically just loved everything about the show. I got to meet Chris afterwards. Real cool guy. I talked to him for 5 or 6 minutes. I ended up picking up 2 albums from the show that I was missing. I now have all of his full lengths. The cool thing about him is he just doesn't do a full length every couple years. He's constantly releasing stuff. He just put out a new EP called Escape maybe a week or 2 ago. This is after the show. I wish they'd have done it. I wish they would have had a copy. And he'll do tour cassettes that are only available on that specific leg of the tour. So like he just toured Europe, and he had a European cassette that you can only get if you were at the European shows. So now I'm going back and trying to find all these EPs and singles and all that stuff, because a lot of those have stuff that's not on the full-length albums. But this was the second full-length. This one is You Are Here. Again, just really cool artwork, like a subway system. Again, different logo. I love the way he does the artwork on all of these. And again, of course, like I said, I had it signed, so you got Chris 2017 right there. This one is on a crystal clear vinyl. Let's see. There's the inner for that one. And then this one is a self-released, I guess it's a comp. Again, signed right there. This is the side 1 is their first EP, and side 2 is their second EP from 2009, and this was released in 2009. It says it on the back here. This album is a compilation of demos that were written and recorded from February to July 2009 in Chicago, which is where Chris is based out of. And then I think this one is just black vinyl, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So that is my High Spirits collection. Again, this is one of my favorite bands that's out right now. And like I said, I saw them live, and it just took it to the next level. Highly recommend checking these guys out if you haven't done so so far. Their albums are not super expensive. I think on $20 spend, I paid maybe $18 a piece for their albums, and at the show, I think I paid $15. It may have been less than that, but I think I paid $15 a piece for their albums, and they're out there. You know, you can still get them at numerous places. If they come to you and play locally, I highly recommend checking them out. It was $10. It was an amazing show. It didn't matter that the opening band sucked. They were phenomenal. So let's go ahead and play a couple videos down in the comments. Tell me what you guys think, if you guys have seen them live. Other than that, take care of EC, and I'll have something up soon.